Good morning. I'm David Martin, Acting Chair for the Commission of Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development Commission. Present at MDE 4th floor, Jackson, Mississippi. This meeting of the Commission is being held today, Friday, September 10th, 2021 at 10 a.m. pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 25-41-5. Some Commission members present via teleconference. The notice of this hearing, including the date, time, place, and purpose of the meeting, has been posted. An audio recording is being made of this meeting, and minutes of this meeting will be recorded. So we'll step into the agenda. Call to order. The meeting is called to order at 10:01 at this point, a.m. on Friday, September 10th, 2021. We'll do an establishment of a quorum. As I call the names of commission members, please state your location and your presence for this meeting. Jamie Creel.
Present. Brooke.
William Hamilton. Mary Hill Taylor.
Present, Choctaw, Mississippi.
John Howard.
Present. Clarksville, Mississippi.
Kim Hubbard.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Dr. Teresa J. Rowe.
Present, Starkville, Mississippi.
Rilla Jones. Dr. Bernell Kelly.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
David Martin, present here, 4th floor, MDE Jackson. Dr. Teresa Poole.
Present, Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Dr. Shelley Simmons.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Rebecca Skinner Gray.
Present, Aisha, Mississippi.
Etta Taplin.
Present, Ruth, Mississippi.
Appreciate everybody making the time to join us this morning. A quorum of the commission is present at the location stated for conducting a meeting through teleconference means. All right, we'll move to number 3 on the agenda. Approval of the minutes of the July 9th meeting, 2021, meeting of the Commission on Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development. Entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion for approval, Kim Hubbard.
Motion, Kim Hubbard.
Second, Bernell Kelly.
Second, Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, approval of the hearing subcommittee minutes for July 27, 2021. Subcommittee members present for that meeting on the 27th, Dr. Bernell Kelly, Dr. Shelley Simmons, and Mr. Jamie Creel. So only those 3 will be allowed to approve those minutes. Entertain a motion for approval for the minutes from that meeting.
To approve.
Motion, please state your name.
Bernell Kelly.
Ms. Kelly.
Second, Jamie Creel.
Second, Mr. Creel. Any discussion? Those that were present are allowed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, approval for the hearing of the subcommittee minutes on August 12, 2021. Again, just those committee members present on that date are allowed to vote on this one. Dr. Debra Mays Jackson, Dr. Shelley Simmons, and Mr. Jamie Creel. Entertain a motion from one of those. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion, Jamie Creel.
Motion, Mr. Creel.
Second, Shelley Simmons.
Second, Ms. Simmons. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No opposition. Motion carries. Agenda item number 6, adoption of the agenda. Entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion to approve, Etta Taplin.
Thank you, Ms. Taplin.
Second, Kim Hubbard.
Second, thank you, Ms. Hubbard. Any discussion? Please identify yourself for the record. All those in favor?
Aye. Sorry.
It's all right. Any opposed? Motion for today's agenda carries. All right, we've got several things to do. This first one has several items, but they are all very similar. So we have, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I was skipping over a section. Pardon me, Dr. Murphy.
That's all right.
Agenda item number 7, MDE update from Dr. Corey Murphy.
All right, I'll be brief. I'll hand it back over shortly. Just good morning, everyone. Not sure if everybody's aware that Dr. Debra Mays Jackson retired over the summer after a number of years of service to the kids in the state of Mississippi, both at the K-12 and higher education level. I had the opportunity to actually work with her when I moved back to Mississippi. She was entering into her first year as an assistant principal. I was entering into my third year as a special education teacher. I learned lots from her at that time and kind of watched over the years to grow and flourish from teacher to assistant principal on to all the great things that she did for children across the state. And I've already shared with her, but just wanted to publicly thank her for her years of service to the state, but particularly here on the commission as a member and ultimately leading for a short stint the members of the commission. And so I just wanted to, publicly state thank you, and that's my announcement for today, or updates for today. But in November, we'll share information from Governor's Task Force. It'll likely be Dr. Burson who will conduct a presentation to share with you the outcomes of the Governor's Task Force on human capital in education, and several other items that are basically policies that are being brought forth from recommendations from the field, from principals, superintendents, teachers, and so on and so forth. And so hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Murphy.
you.
Appreciate that update. All right. Item number 8, Dr. Burson will be discussing motions, and we're going to discuss these as a group, motions 8 through 15, because she's doing it as a summary. The requested changes are all very similar for every one of those programs. We will need to vote on them individually because they are individual items on the agenda. So, but for discussion and approval of Jackson State University's request to modify its existing English education BA program by removing RE. Well, I guess I'm getting into the weeds a little bit on that part.
I'm happy to
So I'll
go
let
through
her
this.
jump on the discussion part.
Good morning, Chairman Martin, Dr. Murphy, members of the commission. It's my pleasure to be here with you today to bring forth some recommendations from our EPPs. And for those of you who may be new to the commission, that's Educator Preparation Provider. Those are our institutions who provide programming for all of our licensure areas. And so in the fall of 2020, we conducted program reviews at Jackson State and at Mississippi University for Women. And the recommendations that are being brought forth to you today for your consideration are based upon the formative feedback and the response to the feedback that the institutions had to share with us. And so, as Chairman Martin mentioned, the first items, 8 through 15, are all from Jackson State University. Jackson State received their formative feedback in October of last year, 2020, and based on that feedback, they've made some recommended modifications to their program. And as he said, we could speak more holistically to these because as you saw in your materials, you were seeing the same courses that were removed oftentimes, but what I failed to put in the item was what they added. So what Jackson State brought forth in their programs was the recommendation to ensure that classroom management was a part of the program. Reading in the content area was added to most of these, as well as utilization of multimedia programs, a technology. And so at this time, if you have any questions, I'm happy to address those. If not, as our chairman suggested, we can move forth with the vote individually.
Any questions on agenda items 8 through 15? Jackson State's programs. Okay, then we'll go through those one by one. We'll begin with number 8 and start voting through 15 unless we have something come up in between. Item number 8, discussion and/or approval of Jackson State's, which is the discussion part, I'm sorry, request to modify its existing English Education BA program by removing RE 455 Diagnostic Reading Instruction and ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs and adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environments, RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas, and ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs. So at this time, we'll take a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, Etec.
Thank you, Ms. Taplin. Second.
Second, John Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. All right, this time, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, approval of Jackson State's request to modify its existing health education BS program by removing RE 455 Diagnostic Reading and CSC 115 Digital Computer Principles and adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environments, RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas, and ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve, Burnell Kelly.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Second, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm not sure if everyone's seeing my message in the chat. Your vote needs to be audible or visual. So if you are not unmuting yourself, you need to give a thumbs up if you are on the screen, or a thumbs up by your I guess, avatar.
Okay, did everybody get that? Aaron's got some things in notes there. I know us in the room, that's hard to read on our end. Those on the computer will need to make sure we know who you are and how you voted. All right, any opposed? All right, motion number 9 carries. Motion 10, approval of Jackson State's request to modify its existing history education BS program by removing RE 455 Diagnostic Reading Instruction and CSC 115 Digital Computer Principles and adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environment, RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas, ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs, and HIS 483. Entertain a motion for approval. Be sure to identify yourself for the record.
Motion to approve, Joe Taylor.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Second.
Second, Jamie Creel.
Thank you, Mr. Creel. Again, make sure to identify yourself. Unmute yourself for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11 on the agenda. Approval of Jackson State's request to modify existing mathematics education BSED program, removing RE 455 Diagnostic Reading Instruction, adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environment, RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas, and SPED 311 Exceptional Children and Youth in Schools. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve, Burnell
Motion for
Kelly.
approval, Etec.
I think Ms. Kelly got you on there just a second. So we'll need a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Taplin, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you all. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 12, approval of Jackson State's request to modify existing music education BMED program by removing RE 455 Diagnostic Reading and Instruction and SS 301 Inquiry-Based Instruction in Geography and Civics Education, adding RE 310 Teaching in the Content Areas in MUS 305 Music Classroom Management. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve, John Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Second, Mary Hill Taylor.
Second, Ms. Taylor, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, be sure to unmute yourself.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 13, Jackson State University's request to modify existing physical education BS program by removing CSC 115 Digital Computer Principles and RE 455 Diagnostic Reading Instruction and adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environments, SPED 311 Exceptional Children and Youth in Schools, ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs, and RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas. Motion for approval.
Motion to approve, Teresa Poole.
Thank you, Ms. Poole. Need a second?
Second, Rebecca Gray.
Second, Ms. Gray, thank you. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 14, Jackson State University requests to modify its existing physics education BS program by removing CSC 115 Digital Computer Principles and RE 455 Diagnostic Reading Instruction and adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environment, ETEC 336 Utilization of Multimedia Programs, and RE 310 Reading in the Content Areas. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval.
I heard Ms. Taplin for sure. Need a second for that, please. Second, Mr. Creel, thank you. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 15, Jackson State University requests to modify its existing social science education BSED program by removing SPED 332 Education and Psychology of the Mild and Moderate Handicapped, adding EDCI 301 Classroom Management and Effective Learning Environments, and SPED 311 Exceptional Child and Youth in Schools. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard.
Second, Burnell Kelly.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, Dr. Burson, I think that got us through the tough part there on that
Okay.
one.
Thank
Those were a
you.
bit lengthy.
So we'll move forward with the Mississippi University for Women.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 16 is the discussion and our approval of Mississippi University for Women's request to suspend their master's degree programs in gifted and reading. However, they want to continue to be able to offer supplemental endorsements in these areas, 15 hours of gifted and 15 hours of reading.
Any questions for Dr. Burson on those? Okay. Entertain a motion for approval of agenda item 16, suspend the degree but keep the endorsements for gifted and reading.
Motion to approve, Kim Hubbard.
Motion, Ms. Hubbard, thank you. Second?
Second, Teresa J. Rhodes.
Second, Ms. J. Rowe, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 17, approval of Mississippi State University's request to modify its existing MAT program by removing ED 600 Leadership through Action Research and School Improvement, ED 614 Leadership through Building a Culture of Professionalism, ED 638 Leadership through Supporting Diverse Learners, ED 652 Leadership through Curriculum Development, and ED 699 Ethical Leadership Capstone. Dr. Burson?
Yes, thank you. And this, again, is something that we requested through program review with the W. As you note, these courses are 600-level courses in leadership, and this is a Master's of Arts in Teaching, which is an initial licensure program for a teacher. The W will be replacing those courses with educational research at the 500 level, 520 educational foundations, 514 professional role of the educator, 538, Understanding Individual Learning Differences, and 592, Capstone Course in Education.
Any questions for Dr. Burson? Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, Jamie Creel.
Mr. Creel, motion, thank you.
Second, John Howard.
Second, Mr. Howard, appreciate that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18 on our agenda. Discussion and approval of request to require all EPPs to include the following 4 common courses for issuance of a reading K-12 supplemental endorsement. Early Literacy 1, Early Literacy 2, Integrating Reading and Writing Across the Curriculum, and Diagnosing and Assessing Reading Difficulties. Dr. Burson?
Yes, thank you. Currently, at this time, we have a reading endorsement on the books. And so for those of you in the commission who may be new, once a candidate receives an initial licensure in a field, they're able to add endorsements. And those endorsements may come in one of 3 ways. They may challenge a praxis in some areas and be able to add an endorsement. They may have 18 hours of college credit in an area and add an endorsement. Or there may be an approved supplemental program endorsement. The reading supplemental endorsement is an approved program that the institutions have to seek approval through the Licensure Commission, through you. Currently, at this time, several of our EPPs are approved for the supplemental endorsement. However, the endorsements vary greatly by institution. In a review of the requirements at each institution, we found that the hours may vary from 9 at one institution to 24 at another. So from feedback from our program offices here at the agency, as well as the field and our EPPs, we're bringing this to you for your approval of these four courses that would constitute the supplemental reading endorsement. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to address those.
So everyone would just have to take these same 4 courses for this endorsement across the board?
Yes, sir. This will become the new supplemental reading endorsement. So if you wanted a K-12 reading endorsement, you take these 4 courses, and that would be the endorsement.
Okay.
Do all the current programs have something similar to these 4 already?
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So in the review of the syllabi, we found that the vast majority of them do have these 4 courses. As you know, our elementary ed program requires 15 hours of reading, and Literacy 1 and Literacy 2 are already required by all of our EPPs. The integrating reading and writing across the curriculum or a content area reading, most of our EPPs already have that, as well as an assessment course in reading. This would just bring greater consistency across our programs and for those seeking licensure. This also aligns us well for candidates to be able to be successful on the Foundations of Reading test, which is a licensure exam that our elementary candidates are required to take. So we're just trying to, again, have greater consistency and rigor across all programs.
Any further questions? This time, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion to approve, John Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Second, Rebecca Gray.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 19, discussion and/or approval to establish an elementary education K through 6 supplemental endorsement that would allow a practicing secondary educator, 7 through 12, who holds a valid 5-year standard renewable license and has at least 3 years of successful teaching experience to add an elementary education K-6 endorsement to their existing license by completion of the K-12 reading supplement endorsement, which are the classes listed a moment ago: Early Literacy 1, Early Literacy 2, integrating reading and writing across the curriculum, and diagnosing and assessing reading difficulties, 12 hours, STEM methods, 3 hours, and earn a passing score on the state board approved licensure assessment for teaching reading, i.e. Foundations of Reading. Dr. Burson?
Yes, thank you. At this time, the state does not have an endorsement for elementary education. So if you are a practicing educator in 712 and you want to teach elementary school, your option is to complete an elementary education degree. We do have an alternate route in elementary, but that licensure area is only grades 4 through 6. The elementary licensure, as you see, is K through 6. So, and we have been, as some of you are new, working on this endorsement since I think about 2018, Dr. Murphy. So we brought forth an endorsement to the commission in 2018, and it was tabled. And we just needed some more conversations with our providers and other shareholders, and we've had those. And we have come to consensus that we feel as though this will make a nice endorsement for those practicing 712 teachers with 3 years of experience, these 15 hours, the STEM methods, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. So that would be 3 hours of pedagogy in those areas. And then, of course, successful passing on the licensure exam for reading, which is in statute.
Any questions?
Yes. If a teacher were to do this, how long would it take that said teacher to complete all of this? Could you do this in a semester or a year, or how would that look? How would that play out? Or how long would it take that teacher to make that transition to get this particular endorsement?
Yes, sir, this is 15 hours, and so that would just depend on the institution and when these courses are offered. We have 2 deans on your commission, Dr. J. Rowe, Dr. Poole. I don't know if you might want to share information from your particular institutions?
I can start. We are a trimester system, so our classes actually start every 10 weeks, and so a person can actually take up to 6 hours a trimester. So that would make a little bit over about 3 trimesters to complete the 15 hours. They can take 9, but we recommend the 6 so that they can be successful in those courses. And it also depends on when those courses will be offered. Making some notes on that, about 3 trimesters, so they can do it within an academic year at Curie.
Okay.
And we are on a semester, and you could do 6 to 9 hours if you're working. It would depend if these are secondary teachers and are teaching, they can take these classes, and they could also take some of them, and I'm sure Dr. Poole will agree, they could take some during summer classes also, the summer semester terms.
Are any of those classes offered online?
Yes, at Mississippi State, we do offer some of these classes online, Early Literacy 1 and Early Literacy 2.
Yes, sir, we will too.
Okay.
And again, I add that this new
Supplemental Reading Endorsement, which is embedded in this endorsement for K-6, will be something that our EPPs will be working on to, I'm sure, streamline some of this coursework, because as we said, this has never been offered before for us to have an elementary endorsement. And we see this, this has been a big ask from the field. As you know, we have a teacher shortage, and our largest number of completers is always elementary ed, and that is a national trend. But with the numbers going down across the country, even our elementary numbers have decreased. And there's a great need for us to create multiple pathways for folks to be in the lower school, but we want to ensure that those teachers have the pedagogy for teaching reading.
On this, do they have to complete 3 years before they would start this program, or they just couldn't get licensed till they had been teaching 3 years? So if I got in and decided, 8th grade wasn't for me, I think I'd like to do elementary, and I knew that my second year, could I start the coursework and have it completed by the end of my 3rd year teaching that high school course and then transition to elementary?
As it's written here, they would have to have 3 years of successful teaching for the endorsement.
For the endorsement. So they could start the programs early, though, if they just knew they were out of their age group. Okay. Any further questions?
Can I just make a comment? Oh, sorry.
No, yes, ma'am.
This is Rebecca Gray. As someone who holds a 7 through 12 secondary,
Appreciate this because I've always wondered, maybe one day that I would like to be an elementary teacher full time. Right now, I'm K-12 ESL, but I really, when I was looking at the agenda and I saw this, I was like, what a great idea. So I'm very pleased that we're able to offer this now. So great work on. It sounds like it's been several years coming. So I really do appreciate this.
thank you, Ms. Gray. We feel very good about this. Also, in working with our
ed prep providers, as our 2 deans will probably nod on the camera to say that, yes, we have been working on this with them. And so we feel really good about it.
Any further discussion? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion for approval.
for approval, Edward Smithson.
Thank you, Ms. Taplin.
Second, Mary Hill Taylor.
Second, Ms. Taylor, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, agenda item number 20, discussion and/or approval to require that all candidates seeking to obtain a license in the area of special education earn a passing score on the state board approved licensure assessment for teaching reading, i.e. the foundations of reading.
Thank you. This is another very, very important agenda item. And we bring this to you today with the support of the Office of Special Education here. As Dr. Murphy mentioned at the onset with his updates, he said that we would be bringing several new things to you in November. A couple of those involve our Masters of Arts in Teaching programs, where we're going to be bringing some modifications and new Masters of Arts in Teaching for elementary and special education. But one area that we need to really address, because in the statute, in the legislation in 3732, which speaks to licensure requirements for elementary candidates, it specifically states that they have to take a test on the science of reading, a rigorous exam. As we look at special education, our most vulnerable population, it's imperative that teachers have the skills and the knowledge to teach children to read. And so this is the request, is that we will require our licensure candidates in special education, and we didn't have the date on here, but beginning in January of 2023, which will give them plenty of time, the institutions plenty of time to work with candidates to get them prepared for this exam, that special education candidates will have to demonstrate proficiency by passing the Science of Reading exam, which at this time the state uses Pearson's Foundations of Reading.
Any questions?
Will this affect any current teachers that are already in special education, or this is just for your incoming?
No, sir, it will not affect our practicing educators. This will be a new licensure requirement for licensure candidates moving forward from January of 2023.
One more question. Do we have a plethora? I'm sorry, guys, I'm asking too many questions. These two items really pricked me today. Do we already have a plethora of special education people coming out of our colleges and universities that we are pretty much overloaded in that area?
No, sir, we do not. The concern here is that it's imperative that teachers in special education have the skills and the knowledge to teach reading. This is our most vulnerable population, and teaching reading is imperative. We learn to read, and then we read to learn. And if a candidate wants to teach this vulnerable population demonstration of proficiency on a test based on the science of reading, which is what our state is invested in, is imperative.
Okay. One more question. Is there something that in the courses that they have to take as well that's going to better prepare them for this test? Are they going to be required to take certain courses, different courses or more courses than your previous special education teachers that's going to better prepare them for this, or is this just adding the test, but the curriculum is going to stay the same?
There may be changes in curriculum at some of our institutions. However, several of our institutions already require their candidates to complete Literacy 1 or possibly Literacy 2. And Dr. J. Rowe, if you want to speak to this, Dr. Poole, if you want to speak to this, I know that you all do literacy work in your special education program. In the previous item, you approved the supplemental endorsement in reading, which I said those 4 courses really gives the candidates the undergirding to be successful on the Foundations of Reading test. And so those 4, that's why we wanted to bring that to you all as the endorsement, because we feel like this will bring, again, greater parity across our programs, and our candidates are going to be positioned to do well. Dr. J. Rowe or Dr. Poole?
Dr. Burson, our special education candidates take 6 hours of, they do early literacy.
Literacy 2 already.
It's the same. The special education is an add-on endorsement for us, and our students are actually elementary education majors who actually have those courses as well and are required to take the foundations of reading.
I have a question, Dr. Burson.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so are we saying that if a candidate is already licensed and then they're adding on special education as an added endorsement, they will also have to take the foundation of reading beginning 2023 if this is a new candidate for this? Is that right? Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, a candidate can add special education just by challenging the praxis in special education, and those pass rates are extremely high. And not to say we're trying to make it too difficult, it's about ensuring these teachers have the skills to teach reading.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I do want to say that as an elementary principal, I appreciate both of these last two items. One is because it's very difficult to find elementary ed teachers. A lot of them are certified in 7 through 12 social studies, so I appreciate that. As well as I have a lot of teachers who think it's easy to get that SPED endorsement, so they're going to get that degree or that just challenge the praxis. So I appreciate that you're adding this coursework.
And we don't want to create a problem for the pipeline. I know that we have a shortage, but we have to think about, do we just want anyone teaching this population? And thank you for your support of this, because we feel that this is very important. As I said, this comes from the Office of Special Education here as well.
Any other discussion?
I appreciate it as well. I think the thought of it is really good. My only concern is what you said, the shortage, and especially I'm in the Delta, so the shortage is tremendous. And my concern is, I know on this end we only deal with the licensure and certification, but there's the other end is, teachers don't get paid a lot, and sometimes I feel like when we add stuff to it, it makes people, and sometimes quality people, easy to look over education. And we're going through that really. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's getting really bad for us. And anytime I see something added on, I get a little nervous. That's just me. It's just nervous for me because we don't have teachers. We just have people in the classroom. And so any extra thing makes me very nervous because I know personally, I talk to people that waiters. I got a friend that's a waiter, and he's in school, and he's about to finish, and he don't want to be a teacher, and he's getting his degree in biology because he's going to take a pay cut. And so making it tough on anybody is it's difficult for me. So that's just where I am with this particular thing. I know I might be different from everybody else on here, but I'm really not for adding anything extra until we do some other things on the other end. That's just me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If I could address
Okay.
something there, this is Etec. Dr. Murphy, as you know,
This, when we have our alternative route, our MAT program, and we have most of our teachers that are getting certified in secondary education, and a lot of those folks Dr. John, a lot of those folks wanted to be elementary teachers, and there was really no route for them. So now if they can get this licensure, be in the classroom for 3 years successfully, this is a route because we didn't really have a route before other than them doing a post-licensure specialist through some program to go through the full elementary program. So this, to me, is a answered prayer for a lot of our beginning teachers as well, and to get those people into the spots to where they want to be. So I'm really thankful that this has come along. So thank you guys for doing this.
Now, that's 19. I wasn't talking about 19. I was talking about 20. 19 is,
Yeah.
understand 19, the 20 is what I was concerned about.
Yeah, well, even with the special education piece too, because I have a lot of people that I know that are in the program as well that have been trying to figure out, you know, well, do I take special ed? Do I do this? But do I have to take this and do this? So I'm happy because, like Dr. Burson said, this is our most vulnerable population, and we want to make sure they get everything that they can possibly get.
It's extremely hard to find people to come into the classroom. You know, I myself have a special needs child, and I agree. It's making it more difficult by adding this on there. But on another note, you don't want unprofessional or a person who is not capable of handling the children in there as well. I'd rather a teacher have one or two more students that can handle the job as opposed to just promote anybody right on in to deal with special needs children, because it's a task and it's very special to my heart. And, you know, it's a tricky situation. I understand where you're coming from, John, but you just can't put anybody in these situations dealing with these special needs kids, in my opinion.
I agree.
I was going to say that if you recall,
every item that we bring before you, I open up when it comes to licensure items. We say that we want to make certain that every criterion that we require is relevant and necessary. And so this is not only relevant for the most part, and you'll find across states, but it's also necessary for the reasons that were shared here today for the most part. So do know that we think long and hard, we vet, and also work with education shareholders across the state on anything that we bring before you, and so including this particular item here. And so it's always at the forefront of our team in teaching and leading, and also MDE. Before we add something, we want to make certain that it's not only relevant, but it's indeed necessary for us to actually do so. And so as you've seen over the course of the past couple of years that you've been on the commission, we've taken things away that we found were not relevant and were not necessary for obtaining licensure in particular areas. We've made adjustments to scores to ensure that they represent how our candidates in Mississippi perform. Mathematics is an example of that. So, you know, we look at both ways, but there again, you know, as I shared before, with everything that we bring before you, there may be some adjusting in an upward manner in scores for the most part based on how candidates in Mississippi perform. Maybe some adjusting in a downward fashion to reflect that, but also there may be some deletions, as you've seen across the past couple years for the most part with different licensure areas. And so, of course, when it comes to adding something, we take that same approach, and you know that's why it's before you today, and that we find that it's indeed necessary in order for us to do that while balancing what you just talked about and keeping at the forefront of our minds how this is going to affect or could possibly affect you know, those areas that already have a hard time staffing for the most part. And so we hear you loud and clear is what I'm saying to you. I've made notes, and just like we do with any other policy, we don't set them and forget them. We monitor to make certain that they're performing in the manner that they should, and we'll bring it back to you to make adjustments. You've seen that with the special non-renewable license, and I just want to give you some examples over the years just to remind you. In 1 year, we made adjustments to that particular license about 2 to 3 times. Because after we implemented it, it wasn't performing in the way that we thought in theory, so to speak. And so with constant feedback that we receive from stakeholders in the field who are actually implementing these policies, we make those necessary adjustments. So I hope you know that we hear you loud and clear. Not only do we listen to what you say, we work closely with you to bring about solutions, and then we bring them and take them through the process for approval for the most part. And so the same thing with this. We're not just setting this and forgetting about it. We'll monitor it, and if it warrants adjustments and us finding another way to ensure that the individual has subject matter competency in the area of reading, then we'll take another route if the testing route is not the option. You also asked about the timing of how long it would take someone to get an endorsement. And so the options we have to confirm subject matter competency here on the special education side is to have everybody take the 4 courses on a trimester or on a semester basis, or they can take the assessment whenever there's a seat available. And at this point, tests are offered in my home. I can take it at any time with online proctoring. And so what I'm saying is access. These are all the things that are at play when we're bringing policies before you. We're thinking about all these things, and that we don't want to delay an individual who's required or in need of actually this endorsement. Want to find different avenues is what I'm saying. And so long way of actually speaking to and showing you is trying to share with you and recall, help you to recall all the things that we've brought before you. And it was based on us constantly monitoring, not setting policy and forgetting them, but also making those, not being afraid to bring policies back, to make adjustments, to say that, hey, it didn't work out the way we thought it would, but here's a better way based on feedback that we've gotten from the stakeholders in the field. So those are my comments there.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
All right, good discussion. Any other questions, comments, discussion we need to have? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, Jamie Creel.
Thank you, Mr. Creel.
Second, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard. Any further discussion? All right, this time we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, agenda item number 21. Thank you, Dr. Burson. You had a hefty load today. Discussion approval, ratifications, or agreed upon orders or voluntary surrenders. Mr. Scott DeJong.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. My name is Scott DeYoung, and I serve as the Director of Educator Misconduct at the Mississippi Department of Education. We have 4 agreed orders that I would like to present for your consideration today. First educator is Delvarin J. Malloy, license number 181875. Has executed an agreed order acknowledging that he violated Mississippi Code annotated 3732-12F and Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, Standards of Conduct, and his educator license will be placed on probation for a minimum of 1 calendar year from the date of the Commission ratifies this agreed order. As a condition of the probation, the respondent shall, at her own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to proper education, student ethics, and relationships from a reputable source satisfactory to the Commission prior to the conclusion of the probationary period. Such coursework is to be the equivalent of 3 credit hours, and the respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion of the course of study to the Office of Educator Misconduct. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct or failure to complete a requirement of the probation during the probationary period shall automatically result in the immediate suspension of the respondent's educator's license for the remainder of the probationary period. In the event the respondent's license is suspended due to failure to comply with the above conditions of his probation, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of a respondent's educator license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 3732, subsection 14A, and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission. The Commission, at its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the Commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. Second educator I would like to present is Julie Anna Davis Lavers, license number 310099. She has executed an agreed order acknowledging that she violated Mississippi Code annotated 373212A and Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, and her educator license shall be deemed to be relinquished or otherwise surrendered from July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The respondent shall be eligible for reinstatement upon conclusion of the suspension period and must petition for reinstatement of respondent's educator license without the necessity of hearing. Third educator is Jonathan T. Edwards, license number 251001, has executed an agreed order acknowledging that he violated Mississippi Code annotated 3732, subsection 12A and 12F, and the Mississippi Code of Educator Ethics and Standards of Conduct by violating standards 1, 2, and 4. The respondent's educator's license shall immediately be suspended for 1 calendar year from the date of ratification by the Commission of Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development. In addition, the respondent shall, at his own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to educator ethics from a reputable source equal to 3 university credit hours or the equivalent thereof. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion prior to the conclusion of the suspension period or contemporaneous with application or petition for reinstatement. The respondent may petition for reinstatement of his educator's license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 3732, subsection 14A, and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission with the necessity of a hearing either before the Commission, subcommittee thereof, or a hearing officer. The Commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the Commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. The fourth educator is Lauren B. Janes, license number 224286, has executed an agreed order acknowledging that he had violated Mississippi Code annotated 3732 subsection 12F and Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, and his educator license will be suspended for 1 calendar year from the date the Commission ratifies this agreed order. In addition, the respondent shall, at his own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to educator ethics from a reputable source equal to 3 university credit hours or the equivalent thereof. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion prior to the conclusion of the suspension period or contemporaneous with application or petition for reinstatement. The respondent may petition for reinstatement of a respondent's educator license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 3732 14A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission with the necessity of a hearing, either before the Commission, subcommittee thereof, or a hearing officer. The Commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the Commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. The Office of Educator Misconduct requests consideration by the Commission of the agreed orders for ratification.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking care of those and working on that.
Sir.
This time, entertain a motion for approval for those agreed upon orders.
Motion, James Creel.
Thank you, Mr. Creel. Second.
Second, Rebecca Gray.
Second, Ms. Gray, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 22. I don't know if we have anything else under there. Other business? That's not really an item. Nothing we need to do. Then we'll move on to item number 23, adjournment. We will entertain a motion for approval to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. There ought to be an argument over that one.
Motion to adjourn, Kim Hubbard.
Ms. Hubbard, thank you. Need a second? I heard Ms. Taplin clearly. So second, Ms. Taplin, thank you. And I'm sure no discussion over adjournment. We'll take a vote. All those in favor for adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, appreciate your time here today. Thank you.